Music is inclusive. Music is about inviting other people into your world. Music is about bringing people into your world. Music is about, being a part of the world with other people. And this whole idea of rock stars and arenas is stupid. It's always been stupid. It's made by people who want to make money.
Hey everyone, it's Joel Freemark. You may know me as the Daily Guru, and this is Earfuel episode number 3. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at GetEarfuel or at the Daily Guru. And hey, we're over on iTunes, so you can subscribe there to get the latest episodes delivered piping hot to your account, I guess, to your pocket, I suppose. What you heard at the top was an excerpt from my interview with Dead Rock West, and we'll be getting to that in just a bit. It was a great conversation. We touched on everything from the drawbacks of digital music to marathon recording sessions to the secret that is the San Diego music scene ethos. And it was a really, really good time. I know you guys are going to dig it. Before that, though, there are a few new records that I want to bring to your attention. The first of which is the new release from Chelsea Wolfe, and it's called The Abyss. For those unfamiliar with her work, she does a sort of doomy, drone, metal-y, artsy, folky sound. It's really, really unique, and she's put out, I think, like 7 or 8 records over the past decade. There's a lot in her catalog. This album isn't too far of a departure from the sound that she usually brings, and the first few songs are as gorgeous as they are massive, and they're really, really gorgeous. The track Iron Moon has this death metal march, but it has a killer melody under it, and it's wonderfully heavy. It brings this really imposing feeling to the song that sort of looms around you. I really liked it a lot. There are also these soft parts that play brilliantly against that heavy sound, and it's a really grand feeling overall. There's also songs like Dragged Out that are akin to Sleep's Dope Smoker on some levels. If you don't know that album, definitely go check it out. And at other points, it kind of sounds like Typo Negative with a female vocalist and a far more serious approach. Then you've got moments like the song Maw that have an almost PJ Harvey feel to them, and really, like, the first few songs have this icy darkness that for me was tailor-made for really crisp October evenings. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's so good for that moment. But about 5 songs in, I felt like things started to get repetitive and honestly a bit boring. They've got the reverb on her vocals cranked up really high, and it almost becomes nauseating, and it's overdone. But one of my biggest issues with this record was that about halfway through, there's this sharp shift in tone and often in tempo on almost every single song. While that's really cool, when you do it on every song, it gets lame fast. Songs like Survive and After the Fall suffer from this worse than others on the record, and it just, it ends up coming off like she's a one-trick pony, and she so isn't. This album, in a lot of ways for me, it doesn't represent her overall level of talent. Because this happens on almost every song, it actually starts to become exhausting because you know what's coming, and the vocal seems to be the exact same on all but 3 or 4 songs, and it kind of becomes this sonic blob. There are lots of good ideas on this album. There's no way around that, and I think it's going to come off a lot better in live performances. But for me, I'll spin the first 4 or 5 songs on this, really enjoy them, and then move on to something else. The next album I want to talk about is called Man Plans, God Laughs, and it's the newest effort from the iconic rap group Public Enemy. Now, Public Enemy have been steadily putting out new music every few years since 1987's groundbreaking Yo Bum Rush the Show, another album you have to know. And you just can't deny the fact that Chuck D's rhyming gets better with age. The biggest plus to this album is just how fantastic the orchestrations and backing sounds are on every single track. Gone are the days of just that bomb squad noise, which was great, don't get me wrong. And in its place are some of the most creative and hardest hitting sounds I've heard in a long time. The music is really what it means to have rap music, and it is great. From the electro-funk feel of No Sympathy from the Devil, to the horn-laden Earth Is In, to their killer reworking of the Rolling Stones' Honky Tonk Woman guitar part. You have to hear it, trust me. This album had me turning it up louder and louder as it went. And honestly, that doesn't happen very often with me for hip-hop. I usually find the level I want it at, and it's good, but I could not get enough of the music here. For the most part, Chuck's rhymes are on point and work well with the music and feel for the particular track, but there were a few songs where he's clearly rapping way too slow for the tone underneath. I get that sometimes it's cool to work in half pace and stuff like that, it just doesn't come off right here. It's most obvious on songs like Me to We and Lost in Space, and the vocal on Honky Tonk Rules, beyond disappointing. I really want to hear somebody else work the beat and music on the last of those songs. It could become outright legendary with the right lyricist. If for no other reason than to hear the hook that they created there, you gotta check this record out. But overall, the rhymes are there, and I especially dig the line that he uses on a bridge when he says, "An earth without art is just eh." Love that. The entire record clocks in at just 27 minutes, so I guess it's a little bit more of an EP than an LP if you want to get technical, but I think that due to the sounds and the hooks here, it's going to appeal just as much to longtime Public Enemy and hip-hop fans as it will to people who usually don't go for these genres. If you're hesitant, trust me, check out the music here, or check out the raps, or check out both. There's a ton to love on this record. The last record I want to review is the new album from Insane Clown Posse, and it's called The Marvelous Missing Link, Found. The Marvelous Missing Link, Found, is the 14th studio album and second part of the third Joker card in the second deck of the Dark Carnival saga by Insane Clown Posse. If what I just said made sense and means something to you, go get the album. If you're very, very confused, congratulations, you have taste in music and you have no need for this record. Moving on. This past weekend, I had the pleasure of seeing Dead Rock West play with X, and the next day, Frank and Cindy from Dead Rock West were kind enough to sit down and chat with me. If you're unfamiliar with Dead Rock West, they're a completely kick-ass, alt-country, rockabilly, Americana, bit of everything band, and, it's kind of like roots rock with a great tinge of punk attitude, and they just dropped their brand new album, and it's a tribute album to the Everly Brothers. It's really, really good. The two of them bring some of the most jaw-dropping harmonies you're going to find anywhere, and they're one of those bands that you can't help but fall in love with the second you hear any of their songs. I guarantee it. They're actually touring through late fall. We'll cover that in the interview, but make sure you go over to deadrockwest.com and show them some love. So without any further ado, my interview with Frank and Cindy of Dead Rock West. Is that kind of the do they have a nice big pot of coffee downstairs at the venue most nights?
Oh yeah,
Oh, my
they got
God,
good coffee.
yes.
Well, at the City Winery, they got good coffee.
At the City Winery.
Are we
Bowl.
close enough? Yes.
we
Hello
close
and
enough?
welcome to Movie Phone.
Welcome. For new movies you
Movie
don't want to
Phone.
see, press 1.
That guy, he's everywhere.
It's got to, it's interesting though because nobody knows what he looks like.
Yeah, that's true.
That's like the perfect celebrity.
Hello and welcome to Movie Phone.
Until you get his voicemail, you have no idea.
That's true.
This is Tom, and I'm not in. It's like, whoa, hello, you're the movie phone guy.
That guy's got a good gig.
That's funny.
There's this whole thing that's been going around here where people want to know the voices of the New York City subway system, like who it is. And
they want to know the person.
Yeah, apparently the woman lives in Maine who did it, and she's never been to New York City before.
That's...
Whoa.
So it's like she's almost doing this all like in the dark.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, she's never been here. And the guy I think he's a newscaster, actually. He's a local newscaster.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's got to be interesting when she gets like the news scripts like, oh, Spring Street. That sounds nice.
Like Spring Street, that must be a cute little
That sounds
neighborhood.
pretty.
You would think like the MTA would at least like bring her down and say, hey, listen to yourself all day on the subway.
It'd probably freak her out. It'd freak me out.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, that's me.
Whoa.
Mind the gap.
It might be
Mind
similar to
the
like,
gap.
the first time you hear yourself on the radio or something like that. And you're like, oh, like I know for me, when I hear myself, I want to turn it off.
Yeah, I kind of freak. I mean, not hearing songs, but hearing my voice.
Yeah.
I can't handle it. That's why mostly he's the one that talks.
Mostly because I'm the most opinionated one, and then
Well,
she's the one
that's
who goes
true,
like,
too.
you shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't say that. Be nice.
I say that way after the fact.
Well, yeah,
A couple days later, so you know that thing you said like
yeah,
last week?
exactly. Don't say that again.
Fire them up, man.
But you guys have been out with X for what? A couple weeks now?
Yeah, 2 weeks, and we were only supposed to do these East Coast these 2 weeks, and then we got added on to the next 2 weeks. Nice. So exciting. So we go home for maybe 2 weeks, and then we start up again. And then after that, we got another super amazing gig. It was like everything all at once. We're opening for Dave and Phil Alvin.
Wow.
Through November.
Through November.
Wow.
Yeah, till the end of November.
That's Are they doing specific stuff, new stuff, old
Well,
stuff?
they're putting out a brand new record in
Yeah.
September.
Nice.
And Alvin Brothers, what's it called?
That's a lot of talent right there, those two.
I know. I'm so excited.
You know, I was intimidated with the X tour, and I'm
Now-
equally, if not more so, with this Alvin Brothers thing.
God.
Because
Yeah.
it's, I mean, as far as, you know, West Coast goes, for me, the Holy Trinity is, you know, Alvin, Doe, and Case.
Sure.
Case, you know.
Sure.
So it's like, you know, I don't know. It's going to be great. It's a great opportunity, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah. It's like, what's the saying where it's dry, and then everything happens
Right.
at
When
once?
it rains, it pours.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really true, except for in this instance, we're not riding in the van. So it'll be a bit weird traveling with X, but we won't be doing that with the Alvin Brothers.
Okay.
So it'll be a different experience because it's fun being, you know,
With the gang.
Sure.
And
Sure.
this one will be more like, hey guys, you know, it's sound
Hey,
check.
Frank, don't do that. Slow down. Why are you speeding so fast?
That's right. And of your Holy Trinity, then I get to sing a couple more songs on Peter Case's record when I get home, the day I get home.
Yeah.
Because I sang on his new record, and then I'm doing a couple more things when I get home. So it's been like I wouldn't say nothing, but it's been, you know, it ebbs and flows, and now it's like, bam, all at once. So it's really exciting.
Well, yeah. And like I was saying, I didn't play music for a while, you know.
What kind of brought that back into your life? Like what made it almost okay? Was there a moment, or just you kind of woke up and it was okay again?
Exactly. Yeah. Because I told you, you know, my brother Andy died from a drug overdose in 2012 in April. And, you know, it was the one time I couldn't run to music.
Yeah.
It was the one time that I couldn't escape the sadness that way, you know. And it literally, I woke up at the end of last year and one morning in December, and it was, you know, it wasn't an audible voice, but it was like he was saying to me, it's time to get back to work. And I just started to write. And then we put out this Everly Brothers record, and all of a sudden it's gone from, you know, 0 to warp speed, which is, I mean, we're happy to be on the road. Cindy and I both love to tour and play, you know, so it's all happened so fast, you know. Of course, Cindy she's always staying busy, you know, singing on other people's records and really great people, and everybody always, you know, I'm the luckiest guy in the world to get to sing with her, because everybody always goes, wow, our voices sound so good together. And I always want to say to them, no, she sounds good singing with you, you know.
Thank you, Frank.
I mean, with that, you know, the harmonies that you two put together, they're extraordinary to begin with. My question is, they're not always the same, which is most bands, they kind of have their harmony. You know, that's what happens. How do you guys feel that out when you're recording? You know, who's going to go where and what those harmonies are going to sound like?
Well, you know, like with the Everly Brothers record that we just put out, one of the reasons we did the record is because we were so blown away at the complexity of their harmonies, and they'll do this and this, and then they'll do unison. So that one will be on top, the top part of the melody, the other on the bottom, and then on the chorus they'll flip, you know. And that's, you know, for the Everlys, Cindy and I, we learned both parts. And so when we got in the studio, it just kind of fell together. When we're working up songs, we do that. You know, if I bring a song to the table, I'll try it, and then she'll sing with it, and then we'll maybe change the key, and then she'll sing it, and then I'll sing with her. You know, and then we'll find like, you sound best if you drop on the bridge, and I go up higher, but on the rest you keep this spot of the melody. And so we try to keep open-minded and think about the narrative of the song, and, you know, plus Cindy's a much better singer than me, so
That's not true.
Are the Everlys one of those groups that you guys both grew up with, or did you kind of come to them later?
both for me.
Yeah, well, I guess both.
I took them for granted, you know, until our producer Mark Lynette, we did a couple of songs at his studio one day. At the end of the day, he kind of nonchalantly said, "Hey, you know, you guys should consider doing an Everly Brothers song. I think you'd sound good doing it." And I sort of like, "Oh yeah, that's cool, whatever," you know. But then I heard Problems on the radio, and it was almost as if I'd never heard them before. And I realized in that moment that there's such a part of American music culture that they're so easy to pass over, because it's such a deep part of us, and it's everywhere. The Everly Brothers are everywhere,
and people don't realize it.
You don't realize it
Yeah.
until we started knuckling down on the songs and listening, and Mark was amazing as far as showing us songs that a lot of people probably don't know about, especially the California period when they were out in the 60s. Yeah, it's something you take for granted because it's there all the time. But when we started getting into it, you just realize how absolutely groundbreaking and brilliant the Everly Brothers are, to music. Everything from country to pop to rock. Even the Beatles, they covered something like half a dozen Everly Brothers songs. They covered more of Everly's than they did of anybody else. And you listen to the early Beatles stuff, they're not just borrowing from the Everlys. They're actually lifting everything harmonically, harmonizing-wise, singing-wise from them, There's a reason. It's because it's fucking brilliant,
Yeah. It's been interesting that there have been a handful of Everly Brothers records suddenly coming out, different artists doing Everly covers.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a reason that suddenly there is this? And I'm more than happy that there's been this resurgence of interest in them. What do you think's brought us to that?
Oh, that's a good. Well, we were sort of when we first started doing this. Mark Lynette said right after we recorded it, "You guys have to hurry and put this out before anybody else gets this idea." And then we had all this, tragic stuff happen for
just live stuff,
both
and family
of us,
stuff,
and so we weren't able to put it out. Some years went by.
Well, we did it in 2010.
Yeah,
in 10 we
before-
made the
That's when
record.
the recordings happened.
Before the Billy Joe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Before
And before the, I can't think of the other two.
And I'm great. I'm stoked about that. I really think that, but I wish we would have been first, but we just didn't have the cash or the, circumstantially our lives were, we were focusing on things that were more important, really, frankly.
Sure.
But it's an interesting question. Maybe it's that whole thing of, when you think of somebody and they call you. So you're putting it out there into the universe about thinking about Everly Brothers. I mean, not that we personally have that much power, but I mean, it's like
it's a collective conscious, and I really think it's like at restaurants. Mm-hmm. There's nobody at the restaurant, and then all of a sudden everybody decides to feed.
Sure.
And then they show up, and then that restaurant's super packed. I think it's time for the Everly Brothers to be heard again. I think it's time for people to recognize what a massive influence they've had on so much of American culture and music and all of that. What amazing songwriters. I mean, they were amazing singers, but they were also incredible songwriters.
Yeah,
separately and together.
Well, and I think maybe I saw it as kind of part of the lineage of people. This pushback we're seeing against overly synthetic stuff, that people are starting to go back and do like lo-fi recordings and things like that, and kind of getting away from the purely digital, everything has to sound exactly perfect sound, and that people are like, a little bit of dirt is good. And hey, I think American Idol just got canceled finally.
Yeah, I think it did.
Oh, so happy that people want real talent again. They want it to come from the right place. We were talking about it earlier, bands that are making music from the right place.
Yeah.
So when you guys were doing the sessions for the It's Everly Time album, did you start off with a bunch of songs, just kind of how did you decide which ones you wanted to eventually record and put on the record?
we put a lot of effort into it because we were it was a daunting task, trying to take on the Everly Brothers is you could fail at that real easy.
Mm-hmm.
But our original concept was to pick one album and do the whole album.
We were going to do In
top
Our
to
Image.
bottom. Yeah.
Our producer, Mark Lynette, wanted to do In Our Image, but we started to realize that, it's a guy and a girl doing this, and we need to dig and seek those songs out that fit us the best.
Yeah.
What was the question?
So when did you guys record more than made the record?
Yes.
What was how did you guys kind of whittle down the fantastic catalog just to what you ended up recording?
Again, Mark Lynette, he just kept feeding us.
Yeah.
I mean, scores of songs, so much music. We spent probably 2 or 3 months at least just listening. Mm-hmm. and when we got into the studio, we initially were going to just track and then do vocals, but we ended up doing everything live. And we recorded 17 songs in 4 days.
Wow.
And it was at the end, Cindy and I were,
Sure.
I'm glad that's the last song.
Yeah.
It was an amazing experience. It was daunting. She and I were terrified. We didn't have a band, to practice with. We were just learning the songs to sing, so we practiced alone in our cars, and that's why we learned both parts.
Sure.
We had Elliot Easton from the Cars on the session, whom we had never met.
Yeah, we met him
until
the
the
first
day,
day.
he walked in the studio. And of course DJ Bonebreak from X, who we've worked with on our previous record and we're already friends with, and then our regular band guys, and then special guests. But anyway, the idea of going in there and recording those songs we were terrified.
Sure.
I was.
But I felt like once we started, the first one we did was Problems, which is a bonus track now. But when we started the first song, we were so scared. And then after it was over, after the first, okay, let's just try this.
We went into the control room and listened to it, all of us.
Well, no, I realized just while we were singing it, this is
You did.
fantastic. This is going to work. And then I felt such relief.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I remember all of us going, filing into
It was a little different.
into the control room, because it's all a new group of guys,
Sure.
a new combination of musicians and such. And you're always curious about how it's going to pan out. We got lucky. And we walked in there, and Mark threw it up on the speakers, and I remember looking over at Elliot and looking around at Dave, our bass player, and like, oh, this is going to be fun. And then the pressure kind of released a little bit, and we just kind of went for it from there.
Because that this is going to do it.
We just felt, it was all of a sudden,
right
it was like,
group.
okay, this is happening,
And at first, the vocals were just going to be scratch tracks, and then I realized after the first song too, like, oh wow, we're going to be able to use these, because Mark set up these amazing microphones just in case, so that just in case happened,
Sure.
for the whole however many songs we recorded.
Yeah, the vocal chain that he used, it was some, fancy Neumanns facing me and Cindy we were facing each other, and he ran through the original Universal Audio 4-channel board that L.A. Woman was recorded on. Wow. And ran each of our vocals into, we each had our separate Fairchilds. Wow. So,
Yeah.
he was already setting us up for success.
Right,
When I
yeah.
heard the vocal sounds, I thought, oh, that sounds
like
marvelous. Hello and welcome to Movie Phone.
That is how they record the movie phone sounds,
Of course.
So, you had the whole band then when you were doing the recordings, and now for the shows, at least with X, it's just the two of you.
Yeah.
Do the songs feel different to you?
To me, yes. It's
It's a different experience. You have to, you shorten them in certain ways and tailor them but you come back to the germ of it. And that's, to me, what a great song is, is we can pull it off because the Everly's songs are great. And it's a lot of fun to have all the instrumentation there and the drums and all of that stuff. But ultimately it's unnecessary, provided we can deliver the goods, with the singing, because the songs are really great.
The songs are there for you.
They're
already.
great. They're just
gonna do
asking
their
us
part.
to use them. You're like, oh, please use me.
and they only wanted us as a duo, so it was already a challenge thinking, oh, we're opening up for a punk rock band as a duo.
As an acoustic duo singing Everly Brothers.
then we
They're
ju-
going to kill us.
Right. X, I mean, it is a very interesting combination,
Yeah.
X, kind of one of those seminal LA,
Truly.
punk bands.
Yeah.
And and I saw firsthand last night, it works great. Has that
you.
kind of been the thing the whole tour?
Yes.
Yeah, we've been
Very
so
gracious.
lucky because we didn't know. And the first night we took it a step further for ourselves and thought, as long as we're diving in and doing this, let's just do that a cappella song,
Yeah.
Chained to a Memory, which
We did it in Philadelphia. I told
It's a good testing ground.
Jesse Dayton, I told him, I was like, we're in Philadelphia in a punk rock club. And I said, I think we're going to open up with an a cappella song. And he says,
goes, "Don't
he
do
goes,
that."
dude, this is Philadelphia. They're going to kick
They're
your
gonna
ass.
kill you, right? right. But if it's passable in Philadelphia, you're fine.
Well,
You're
everywhere
gonna be
else.
okay,
Right.
And it was actually it was crazy. We didn't even get halfway through the first verse, and you could hear a pin drop.
It was incredible.
It was a really special. But you know, honestly, it's a big testament to X fans because they're smart, they're open-minded, and they figure like, well, if X likes them, they must be cool.
Sure.
I mean, they're loyal, but they're smart. They're not a bunch of meatheads.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen that show after show after show. It's been a special experience. They're such a special band, really are.
Well, it was really cool at the end of the set when they came out and you guys all did the number together.
Yeah.
Which was gorgeous.
Thank you. It was so much fun.
Yeah, and you know, and I think that did show because you know the crowd definitely there and definitely. I mean, it was so much fun. You said though that jumping back that the Everlys were someone you both came to early and later in life.
My brothers are much older than I am, and so they left records at home, and when I started listening, I would just listen to what was there basically. So it was like Everly Brothers, Beatles, Beach Boys, Led Zeppelin.
I've heard of one or two of those bands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I would just listen and
sure
till I was done with that, and then move on. So yeah, for me, and early, and then I sort of forgot about all that for a while, and probably got in some bad music phase, and then came back around to it because I was so bored with modern music that I always, whenever I'm bored, I always go back to basics. So that's for me, but I don't know about Frank.
I probably, came to the Everly Brothers through Emmylou Harris and Linda Ronstadt, actually, because when I was, a wee little child, my mom, she played Mahalia Jackson and Elvis Presley, and at that time in the 70s, like Heart Like a Wheel, and Emmylou Harris, they sang Everly stuff and recorded that stuff. And of course, the Everly Brothers are on the radio.
Sure.
You can't escape the Everly Brothers, and
which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No.
I mean, they're one of those groups that I sometimes get concerned that, I hate using this phrase, the youth of today will kind of miss out on certain things because I think the Everlys are such a touchstone to if you want to create in any way musically, there's something you need to know. And I wonder if in the age of the internet, they're going to kind of get forgotten a bit.
No, I hope not. I mean, that's one reason. I think we made this record. Really, we made this record because we were so excited at the idea of recording their songs that we did it. But I think another reason why we did it now in hindsight is because they deserve to be heard. And, in the old rock and roll and folk music tradition, it's common for bands to play songs by other bands. Nowadays, they don't do it, I think, because of, managers and the music business people have figured out, the publishing part, and well, you gotta make money and get rich, and so the culture of tipping your hat to the past or to an influence has sort of disappeared a little bit. I mean, all those bands, the Stones, the Beatles, the Who, and American bands, it used to be a good thing when you would record other people's songs because it would show where you came from.
Right, and then the fans could go dig in and say, oh, they're playing a song by whomever, I'm going to go find out about this band.
And it cultivates a culture of music instead of the separatism of, one super giant big star and everybody else is...
Right, like, I'm into Radiohead and all other bands suck.
It's just dumb. It's
yeah.
dumb thinking.
Well, it's kind of, I joke sometimes when people are like, oh, well, who's the better drummer, Keith Moon or John Bonham? And I've had this argument because it's John Bonham. But, I always say the great thing is, though, you can listen to both. You don't have to be so firmly in one camp. They're not warring factions. And I get concerned sometimes that people just, they will blow off another band simply because it's not the band I like as much. But I digress.
No, it's okay. But here's the thing, one journalist person referred to what we're doing as a covers record. It's not. It's a tribute record.
Sure.
There's a big difference.
Yeah.
A covers record is like something cheesy somebody does that's cute and novel. A tribute record is something that you make in honor of somebody and to remember them and to reconsider them and to look at them seriously, and that's what we're doing here. on this record, in my opinion, every song that we're doing, I believe in 100%, and it's not novel for me. I put my heart into it on the record, and Cindy did too, and we do every night when we play them. It's not a game for us. I hope a lot of these songs we keep in our set for the rest of our lives, you know.
Well, they fit so well with the rest of your catalog. You know, just when you kind of go to, you know, the other albums, Honey and Salt and all that. Was, you know, when you were putting together the set lists for the show, did you kind of say, oh, wow, these songs just, they work perfectly? Or were you just like, these are the 6 songs we want to play from the new records, let's find a way to get
Or here's the 6 songs we can play. You know, because we had a band on the record.
Right.
I'm not a fancy guitar player, so, you know. So, you know, I mean, Chained to a Memory, we've been doing a cappella, and it's really coming across fantastic, in my opinion. But the real reason is because somebody can't play those fancy chords.
Well, you know? What he said, I said, what about this song? He goes, I can't play it. I said, let's do it a cappella.
Acapulco.
Do it Acapulco. Yeah. Are you guys writing on this tour at all still? Or are you just kind of focused on show to show? Or are you guys constantly writing new stuff?
We have a whole record. We have a whole record of new songs that we're hoping to record fairly soon.
Joe's actually going to produce our new originals record.
And I'm excited about it, you know. And actually, I mean, I got too many songs right now. Then I kind of have put the brakes on, you know, because there's too many. Right. That sounds weird to say, but it's a focus thing, you know. For me, if I just keep doing it, it's easier to not finish things, you know. And we're excited. I hope this record, this Everly Brothers record, helps us garner enough interest that we can kind of like quickly get into the studio and make another record because.
Well, we actually were going to be in the studio in September, but then we got the Alvin Brothers tour.
Such a hassle, that.
I know.
Such a terrible dilemma. So we have to push it back.
Sure. And are you guys normally pretty fast in the studio, or do you like to go in and like create within the studio environment, or do you kind of like to have the record ready?
All 3 records, that's how the songs definitely have them together and have an idea about how we're breaking up the harmonies and the keys and stuff, because that's the interesting part about singing in a duo is, you know, considering the narrative of the tune. Like sometimes if I write a song, it might be a cool song, but I don't really sound good singing it, and then I'll bring it to Cindy, and then she'll go, oh, you know, why don't you change the key, and then she'll start singing it, and then we'll shorten a part or lengthen a part, and then all of a sudden it's super rad, you know. And so it takes a different kind of working with the 2 singers, because, you know, our goal is to not be lead singer, harmony singer.
Sure.
You know, which is the typical approach. You know, John Doe and Exene and Graham Parsons and Emmylou Harris. I can't think of other examples right now, but you know, those both are great examples of vocal duos that are reliant on each other. And that's when we started Dead Rock West, that was the whole idea, is, you know, to really try to sing great songs and to do them well, so that the 2 voices become one instead of pasting one voice on top of another or below it or something, you know. Because that's boring after a while. As a singer, it just gets... It's not so much fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's where you're just like, okay, I know your band's harmony. It's the same thing every single time. Not you, but in general, you know, when you hear those bands, you know, and that's why I think so many people are blown away by things like, you know, the harmonies on Pet Sounds or something like that, where they're working all over the place. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, is have fun with it.
Right. Yeah. The Everly Brothers, the Louvin Brothers. I mean, boy, even, you know.
Yeah.
Digging deep.
Yeah, that's, you know, that stuff is great.
Yeah. So is this something that's kind of the style of creativity representative of the San Diego music scene in a way? Because I feel like of all of the different cities in music, San Diego gets overlooked all the time for just, you know, how much great and diverse music comes out of it.
I agree.
What is the local scene there like, just being a part of it? Because it seems very collaborative. Like everybody is on everybody's records and stuff like that.
It is. And, you know, San Diego is unique in many ways. When the whole grunge thing was happening, the labels started to get hip to the fact that there was a really good rock and roll scene going on in San Diego, and they were trying to shoehorn it into the whole grunge thing, and all the San Diego bands were like, fuck that, we're San Diego music, you know. And and even when I was playing like folk music, I had a band called the Hatchet Brothers, which was a terrible bastardization of country music, and there was everybody from folk musicians to the rock and roll guys and the Dragons and Rocket from the Crypt, and like we would all meet at the old sod on Wednesday, Joey Harris from the Beat Farmers, just like, and everybody played well together. It wasn't broken up in factions, and I feel like it's still that way in San Diego. It's really unique in that way, really special. Mm-hmm. The circle it's very inclusive as far as styles of music, and the musicians who they just it's just a unique place. I've never been around something like that.
Yeah, it just seems strangely supportive, and really everybody is with everyone. Last night with a couple people, we were just kind of playing friend geography of just the different people from the San Diego scene that we knew, and it was just you're not gonna, with minimal offense to the city we're sitting in right now, you're not gonna see that in New York City. It just doesn't happen, and it might be due to the size of the city, but San Diego also seems to the music in general usually has a much warmer sound to it, and just more of a welcoming sound. Is that something that just kind of comes from the environment?
Yeah, I think it's sort of because of the geography. Mm-hmm. San Diego is a big city that acts like a little town in a way because it's really spread out. It's California. It's way wide open, and you have that wonderful weather and the beach. So right. That definitely affects it, but it doesn't mean This is a funny part. About Southern California, people go like, "Oh, it's so nice and the weather's so wonderful, and you got the beach. How could you ever have any angst?" And I just want to smack them when I hear shit like that, because living is hard for everybody everywhere, dumbass. And but it does. It's conducive to making whatever sound it is. I don't know. I don't know how. I'm all jacked up on coffee right now, but I don't know how sounds develop.
Do we need to strap you down to the chair?
I don't know how sounds develop and cultures develop in places, but it definitely happens. Like the whole Chicago blues thing. The Chicago sound, was really different than blues that was happening in other places. And how did that happen? I'm not real sure. I'm sure somebody could explain it to me.
Sure.
How does San Diego? How does it stay so special? I don't know. It's a unique place. It has a sound. It's just like Boston. Mm-hmm. The music there, and of course the music here in New York, has a thing to it. Even like, I think there's a dress code. You have to wear black, right?
Yeah. Lou Reed put that into effect.
Okay.
Nobody's pushed back.
Nobody,
on
and
it since.
it's a good color.
Yeah, it works.
Black is the new black.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's just you
God
do it.
Rest his soul.
When Lou made a statement, okay, perfect. That's what we're gonna do because Lou said so. Like I know. When you guys are writing, do you do it? Because you said you have a bunch of songs and you kind of had to put the brakes on it. Do you write separately, or bring songs together, or is it mostly you? How do the songs come into existence?
Well, it's mostly him, but then I have ideas and I bring it to him, or we have a friend, Greg Sarfati, and both of us write with him, and then collectively get together.
The idea is to get the songs however you can.
Yeah.
I like to co-write, and Cindy definitely writes. And she writes, but she doesn't. If I don't do it, I eat my own paw. So I'm kind of that guy. If I'm not doing something creative, it's I'm going to go out and be stupid or something.
Sure, right.
But the idea is, set the ego aside, and set the ego aside and honor the song, and play good songs and play them well. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot what this Everly Brothers project has been about for me, is finding good songs and just recording them. Again, this is a culture and music that we've lost. Emmylou Harris and Johnny Cash both are great artists, singers and writers, but the fact is I would say probably, I don't know what the percentage is, but at least half of what they ever recorded was written by other people.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it doesn't mean that they're a covers band. What it means is as artists, they're able to curate and find. It's one thing I love about country music in general, especially in the 60s and 70s, where the idea was to just like to curate songs for your artistry and to reinterpret those songs through your ears. And I wished rock bands and punk bands and all those would be more like that. That's something that I think is so good for music. It's so good for the culture of music, and it's something that music is inclusive. Music is about inviting other people into your world. Music is about bringing people into your world. Music is about being a part of the world with other people. And this whole idea of rock stars and arenas is stupid. It's always been stupid. It's made by people who want to make money. And there's room for all of us, and I would really love for that to come back. But, I feel that on the road with X, and Jesse Dayton has been sitting in for Billy Zoom while he's having cancer treatment. Mm-hmm. And the one thing, we were up till about 6 this morning listening to songs. I mean, everything from Tears
it's
for
not
Fears.
7:30 in the morning right
Tears
now,
for
just in case anyone's wondering.
To, like Magic Sam and
Sure.
Dave Van Ronk and all kinds of crazy stuff, just and feeling that inclusiveness amongst my peers is such a great feeling. And I get new ideas from that, from the stuff that Jesse will play and the stuff that we talk about, it's such an exciting thing to be around.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were talking about a bit that kind of the communal aspect of music has been lost in the digital age. And it's not, not like I'm anti-digital, it's just pro-analog, and that people have made it an impersonal experience. Do you see that in impacting your writing process at all, or how the people interact with you at shows?
What do you mean?
Just how the digital music revolution has impacted how you go about being an artist.
Well, I mean, last time we went to England, nobody really bought our record because they all downloaded it. And we haven't been back since. Because we made no money. No, it's because...
If you don't buy the vinyl, you will never see us again.
Not really. I don't know. I don't think about that. I just want to write good songs. I want to be around good songs and play good songs.
I think about it when people are looking at their phones, which I don't see that often in New York.
Digital...
Yeah,
the idea of not compensating somebody for work that they've done is, just as stupid now as it was in the past.
So you're not really proponents of streaming services.
I'm very open to changing with times because technology is changing.
Sure.
I mean, let's not forget. The only reason. What was it, Columbia Records or whoever was that first sent a dude out to record the Carter Family?
Yeah.
Because all those labels, all they recorded was classical music. But it wasn't until they realized they could make $1 off of it that they thought, oh, we're going to record this hill music and this race music, they called it,
Yeah, race records.
And they didn't do it to be good guys and to perpetuate the culture of music. They did it because they thought they could make $1 off of it.
Yeah, it's a business.
And it's always been that way, and it's always going to be that way. The problem is when those sons of bitches don't want to give any money, and they're like, well, but my business. It always comes down to the fact that if you don't have the musician and the song, you don't have a model.
Right.
There's, it's not even. So let's start off right and let's cultivate. But songwriting laws, I think they're the same as they were in the 1920s, and. ASCAP and other people have been trying to change those laws, and that's why Pandora doesn't want to change those laws, is because they want to keep it in the dark ages.
Sure.
The culture is changing,
Yeah.
The culture of music is changing, and it's important that we somehow remember that music is about community and it's about humanity. Like for me, a song doesn't exist until it's performed. Mm-hmm. A recording of a song is like a two-dimensional facsimile of what the song is. When you hear a person, Peter Case said this. He's like, that's the thing about a song that's so amazing is that you can do it for free, and you can do it anywhere, and every time you do it, you breathe life into the song, and it becomes alive again. Until you play it, it's dead. It doesn't exist because you're the one who breathes life into it.
Good time for sure. Thanks again to Frank and Cindy for making time to talk. And go check them out at deadrockwest.com. But before I wrap the episode, it is, of course, time for your weekly Earfuel homework. For those of you new to the podcast, each week I assign the listening of a specific album from beginning to end without any distractions. It comes from the idea, we kind of talked about it in the interview, that I believe in the current era, music has kind of become a background sound. You're driving, you're at work, you're on the subway, cooking, whatever. And this is all about focusing on the music for the sake of the music. So this week, your assignment is to listen to the Everly Brothers. You can go to any of their catalog, but the album I definitely want you to check out is called Songs Our Daddy Taught Us. To me, the Everly Brothers are one of those groups that everyone's heard of, but man, not enough people have actually heard. This is a group you have to know. If you appreciate music, any style of music, you really need to be familiar with the Everly Brothers, and this is a fantastic entry point to their catalog. It was originally released back in December of 1958. Basically, this album gets released when the Everly Brothers are at the height of their fame as a rock and roll act, and they come out and they do this like roots, folk, almost bluegrassy record. And it took a lot of nerve to do that because it wasn't easy to stay on top in any sort of music at the time, and it was a massive departure from what they were doing. But the record itself is just stunning. It is some of the greatest, most beautiful music and singing you'll ever hear. There's a lot of songs that you're going to hear that artists since then have reworked in so many different ways. This is just one of those records that's rarely far from me. Songs like Lightning Express are going to break your heart. Then there's just gorgeous moments like Barbara Allen. You got Rockin' Alone. I mean, everything is there. Regardless of what styles of music you prefer, there's really no way you're not going to love this album. These are some of the most important songs ever written, so go check it out and you'll be able to understand why the Everly Brothers are such a critical part of music history. And hey, when you're done listening to this album, go and check out Dead Rock West's tribute album for even more amazing vocals and more songs that you need to check out from the Everly Brothers. So that's all for this week. If you enjoyed it, hey, go tell a friend and follow me over on Twitter at GetEarfuel. That is your weekly Earfuel. Share and enjoy.